Menominee. Again, good morning. How are you doing on this sacred day, again, a day made holy by your very presence? As we gather to welcome in Indigenous Peoples Day 2025, amen? I am humbled beyond measure to be providing my first ever opportunity to share a few reflections as it relates to this month's Soul Matters theme of cultivating compassion and to reflect on my understandings of Indigenous Peoples Day. And as I shared earlier, we have had a president say on Thursday that we will no longer honor Indigenous Peoples Day, and we say, not on our watch, amen? I heard some hissing. Do y'all hiss at the First Church? I hear some hissing. In fact, say, in fact, we're gonna double down and we're gonna honor it, right? Not just today, but all day, every day should be Indigenous Peoples Day, amen? As we continue this morning's sermon, I needed to expressly thank Wade Fernandez for agreeing to join us this morning for today's service. In our efforts and support of his sacred storytelling and unparalleled musicianship, especially through his native Menominee language and cultural experiences. For those who haven't seen the announcement at 1 today, Wade is going to continue to do some education and music around stereotype breaking, and especially now more than ever. He's going to join us for 1 o'clock. So go and get a lunch and come back, invite your friends. And if you're online and you live nearby, come on over at 1 o'clock, right? Say yes. Online, say yes. Y'all heard him. Did y'all hear him? I also would like to thank Alyssa Rohde, our music director, for her work to coordinate Wade and his family's stay. Jade and his wife, Gabriella, is it Gabriella? His wife, Gabriella, are also here for making the trip down and over. I don't know where it exactly is, but I think it's down and over from here to the Menominee Reservation. Is that correct? Oh, shoot, I'm going the wrong way. Up and over, thank you. You came down, though, and over. That's what I said, I was right. You came down, okay, let's not get tangled up. We are truly honored and blessed to have you and your family with us today. Ever so briefly, I wanted to let you all in on one of the most magical Zoom video chats I have ever experienced. A week ago last Friday, when we were experiencing some of our lingering summer temperatures and brilliant sunshine, Alyssa and I were treated to Wade taking an early afternoon stroll through parts of the Menominee Reservation. As the Zoom video chat was getting started, we realized Wade was strolling among gorgeous, gorgeous trees and between what I think he described as the two lakes of the Menominee Reservation. We continued to chat about the possible shape of the services today. He took us along what felt like a meditative walk as we shared the details of what may be possible during our time. Can you imagine similar scenery and feelings associated with such a stroll over Zoom? Specifically, as we shared some of the liturgical elements of our usual worship services, Wade seamlessly offered ways that he would like the flow of the service to be guided by the mystery and awe that can only be generated within these moments we find ourselves in co-creating worship, and what it will become while we are together. Friends, might this be the blessing we are all coming here for, and the possible blessings for what we need every moment of every day in our lives. Wade, thank you for adding to our process that day, to what is already unfolding and what has yet to come this morning. The title and theme for today's service, Indigenous Peoples Day 2025, Cultivating Compassion, Balancing Action and Presence. Again, it has been a deep privilege to sit with some of the resources that have called to me over the last many weeks in preparation for today. Specifically in being able to work with Wade, Alyssa, Reverend Kimberly, and our worship associate, Jesse Diliberti, and to be able to engage our Soul Matters curriculum and some online resources and some sacred texts, to name a few. I needed to start from the beginning as I did not know how or when Indigenous Peoples Day was started. It was in late 1970s at the United Nations conference that the first ever International Indigenous Peoples Day was proposed by many indigenous communities the world over who gathered at that conference. I learned that South Dakota was the first state in this country to honor Indigenous Peoples Day in 1989, with its first official celebration in 1990. Fast forward, if you will, to 2021. President Joe Biden became the first United States president to recognize Indigenous Peoples Day officially, with over 17 states and as many as 100 cities that now uplift the lives and non-whitewashed, say non-whitewashed, histories of the many indigenous communities that live here in Wisconsin and the country over. President Biden gave then, I had to add that this morning, then the proclamation that the second Monday of October would be the day to honor Native Americans' quote, resilience and strength and their dedication to preserve land, language, spirit, knowledge, and tradition, even as they have faced centuries-long campaign of violence, displacement, assimilation, and terror. We will honor Indigenous Peoples Day, amen? In working hard, as I am sure many of you are as well, to engage the spiritual work of our faith through our Soul Matters theme of this month, Cultivating Compassion. As I shared with you all in my sermon blurb for this sermon, it is exceedingly hard to build compassion for ourselves and each other when there is so much uncertainty at every turn, nearly every minute, in our current social, political, economic, religious, and spiritual lives. So sinking into a definition of compassion has anchored me a bit, as I hope it might anchor you as well. Merriam-Webster's online dictionary defines compassion as sympathetic consciousness of others' distress together with a desire to alleviate it. Can I repeat that again? I guess not. I won't repeat it. Can I repeat that again? Yes. Compassion is the sympathetic consciousness of others' distress together with a desire to alleviate it. With this, how have you or might you consider cultivating more compassion for yourselves, those within your spheres of influence, as you journey throughout your days, weeks, and months ahead? If I am being honest, finding compassion for those beyond my spheres of influence, my family and friends, those within my heart spaces on any number of levels, finding more compassion now is really hard goings lately. For anyone else? This led me to an online search that, without being my original intention, has possibly consolidated solidarity movements which may have direct historical ties to our honoring Indigenous Peoples Day today. Please bear with me as I share extended excerpts from a letter that became an essay by noted educator, author, poet, womanist scholar, and civil rights leader, Alice Walker. I found an article from an online Utne reader for October 7, 2014, titled, Alice Walker, Finding Inner Peace and Compassion Through Hardship. Walker was writing to a graduating class of Naropa University in 2009 in Boulder, Colorado. a university that works to integrate Buddhist thoughts into Western scholarship. In this extended excerpt, Walker writes, dear graduating class of Naropa, I have been thinking of you for many months, wanting to share your day with something useful from my life experiences. It is wonderful to see you, to know you have worked and studied and played hard, that you have meditated much, that you have struck out on your own through these perilous times to the benefit of yourselves and to the world. You are children of this cosmos, this galaxy, of your no doubt innocent earthling parents who brought you into existence, and also children of the Buddha, which is to say, beings who continue to grow into people who treasure wisdom, joyfulness, and peace. In fact, you are practically adults. We recall that to the Cherokee, as to other people who have noticed how long it sometimes takes for humans to develop fully, adulthood comes, if it comes at all, at the age 52. She continues, what I have learned that might be useful to you. One thing I've learned is that just as we are lucky enough to live on a planet that has mornings, there is such a thing as human sunrise. Say human sunrise. She writes, human sunrise, discovering inner peace during the civil rights movement. More of her words. Decades ago, when I traveled to Mississippi to work in the civil rights movement, which eventually gained voting rights for African Americans, I encountered this human sunrise for the first time. I met Black people and a few of their white sisters and brothers who were attempting to dismantle a system of oppression that had been in place for centuries. White supremacy, fascism, and the most virulent racism were the order of the day. Black people and the whites who supported them lived in a state of terror. There were lynchings, bombings, assassinations, humiliations, jailings on a regular basis and a predictable basis. And yet, the people not only were determined to be free of these things, they were determined as well to free their oppressors, the racists and the white supremacists of the world, of their need to oppress. It was in Mississippi that I witnessed, as an adult, the full implementation of the compassion for others that I and most Black people of the South had been taught at home, and for some, of course, in our churches. With just their singing, their chants, their good and noble hearts, their marching feet, the Black people of Mississippi met with soul force the violence of a system that had traditionally grounded them into dust. We shall not be moved. We shall not be moved, they sang, just like a tree planted by the wall. Y'all don't know this song? Altars, we shall not. See, I knew the Unitarian choir was alive and well today. For me, what Walker describes in this essay, my apologies for the extended excerpt, but it feels ever timely now as it was then. Amen? Amen. What I did not know before preparing for today's worship service and sermon was the political, social, and religious organizing of the late 1950s, 60s, and 70s of the Black Power and Civil Rights Movement led to what has been called the Red Power Movement. Amen? Amen. Say it, Red Power Movement. The Red Power Movement was of many indigenous peoples of this country who organized anew for social, political power, culminating in honoring and having many indigenous peoples of this country to tell their own histories and stories. Yes, the horrific and lingering realities of 1820 to 1838, the Trail of Tears. We must never forget. Amen? What we are learning in this country of the lingering negative realities of the mission schools and other horrors that we must all do a lot more to learn more about. Friends, it's also true we must learn of the major, very, very positive accomplishments that come from thousands and thousands of years of indigenous communities composed of complete functioning civilizations. Complete civilizations with water systems, with enough food, medicine, technologies to sustain communities into the hundreds of thousands of people. Did y'all know that? Hundreds of thousands of people gathered in indigenous communities before those people came. Did y'all hear me? Okay. As members and friends or those seeking community with this church, as Reverend Kimberly has shared regarding our faith formation ministry with children and youth who are learning and using educational approaches to studying Indigenous peoples' history here in Wisconsin, as Jessie shared so personally of her own experience, and any number of you, I assume, are or may be starting your personal and family journeys to be in better and right relationships with our Indigenous communities. I also ask, how do we balance our deep, strong yearnings to be supportive of the ongoing justice-seeking efforts of our friends and neighbors to our Native Americans, and, say and, how might we be careful in our efforts at compassion that they do not cause or worsen the centuries-long harm that has been so easy to do? I happened into this quote through our Soul Matters curriculum that made my heart skip a beat as I began to reflect on some of my justice efforts across my life, and especially as we continue to expand our love-centered values for the times we find ourselves in. Please hear this quote as an invitation that anchors our ongoing study for this year's Indigenous Peoples Day and in our justice efforts for as long and as sustainably as we shall live in community. Through the quote by Reverend Nadia Bolz-Weber, a noted Lutheran minister, she shares some distinction between pity and compassion I found humbling. She writes, "In my mind, pity isn't even analogous to compassion. Pity is just the paternalistic cousin of contempt. It allows us to see others as those less fortunate than ourselves, a term I loathe. Pity keeps the other person at a distance and me in a rarefied state of satisfaction. I struggle to think of who would ever truly want it from another person. Compassion, on the other hand, draws us close. As I began to bring the sermon portion of this service to a close, and Wade with deep gratitude will come forth singing more Menominee songs for the remainder of the service, I would like to close again sharing some of the words of Alice Walker, which may help us in cultivating even more compassion through these most difficult of times. Because could we use another human sunrise? It's okay if we're not sure because we still don't know what it is, but a human sunrise that is ongoing, similar to or exceeds the civil rights movement of the 1960s, again in her letter to the graduating class of the students in 2009. We are all rising up all over the globe now. In this most terrible of times for earthlings and for our home planet, people everywhere are moving, joining each other, plotting and planning how we may protect and provide for the challenges of our age. Still, there are and will be days of incredible depression and distress as we encounter the hard truths of the suffering of the earth and her creatures. There are abominations occurring on our planet that I'm convinced would have been unimaginable in the Buddha's lifetime. They are unimaginable even in my own lifetime, she writes, and I have actually encountered some of them. The horrible genocide, the incessant war and warmongering, the dropping of bombs on the poor, the starving deliberately of children, the greed, the mutilation, cannibalism, enslavement enforced on people who are at the mercy of weaponry and force wielded by people they have never seen. And I say to you, when it is all too much, when the news is bad, meditation itself feels useless, and a single life feels too small a stone to offer on the altar of peace, find a human sunrise. Find those people who are committed to changing our scary reality. Human sunrises are happening all over the earth at every moment. Can y'all feel a human sunrise burgeoning in this world now? How you feel it? Is it through the flotillas? What is it through? What are you feeling it through? The organizing? I hear they're organizing in Chicago. Anybody been? Are they organizing in Chicago, in Portland? Yes. Do we, folks of goodwill, justice, mercy-minded people, might we be in the middle of yet another human sunrise? I pray that we are. May it be so. Ashe, shalom, salam, blessed be, may it be so. And all the people said, Amen. Amen. Thank you.